thanks for doing this. From listening to you and to the other players on the team, it was pretty clear that you guys sort of felt good where the team was at and the direction it was heading. But was there any point last season where you felt like you guys had turned the corner, that you said to yourself, I like what's going on here and I like the way we're headed?
Yeah, I think there was plenty of times that we felt as a team that we had the group to really kind of turn the corner for this rebuild. And you think of times early in the season we didn't really find consistency. We didn't really go on a winning streak that we needed to kind of keep ourselves in the top of the standings or up there with the top teams. And we kind of found that right after the All-Star break, right before the trade deadline. And then unfortunately we traded guys away, and we've heard a lot now Steve's plan and the direction that this is going, where this wasn't really the year, and we wanted to make moves for the future, and the team did that, and it was very difficult after the trade deadline. We took 4 or 5 guys out of the lineup. We had some key injuries at that time that really were difficult, but there was plenty of times where I felt with the younger players and the guys that we brought in the summer that this thing's heading in the right direction. As much you think about next year, you think young players coming into our lineup, it's a much better environment for them to succeed with support than we've had in the past, and that's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, you mentioned at one point, I think at one point you guys were like 28, 21, and 8, and the team was really playing well. Then, of course, you had the injuries and the trade deadline. But it's been interesting to hear the guys talk about, next season we just have to get back to that point. As the captain, is that easily accomplished? Is it so fully established now for you guys that starting next season you'll know exactly where to go, how to play to get that back?
Well, I think it is this year going into next year because Newsy's coming back. We have most of our leadership group coming back, I assume, with the contracts they've signed, and we can add to that group in the off season. So it is going to be much easier. And I knew Newsy said it in his end of the year press, but he's been saying it to us for the past couple of weeks, is we're going to start on the 50-yard line, and we're just going to be familiar with each other, familiar with the system, and I think that's huge.
Next year you start your 9th year. Does it feel like you've been here that long, or does it feel like you just started, or how does it feel?
It's pretty crazy to think about. But it goes by fast. Guys say that to you as a young player, and it hasn't felt that long. But I'm really hoping for many years and a lot more years left. And obviously I signed for 8, but I would like to, make the playoffs next year and have the last 9 or 10 of my career to be kind of a different story. I'd really, really like that.
Thanks, Dylan.
St. James.
Hi, Dylan. How much difference do you think it'll make going into training camp next year? Guys won't be. I mean, Andrew Kopp was coming in off core surgery. He's going to be healthy. Fabry will be healthy, and it'll be Derek's second year. That you guys know the coaching staff. That just to have that, better health and better familiarity with one another.
Yeah, I just kind of mentioned that it's going to be huge. There was a lot this year, a lot of new players coming in, a lot of us trying to build chemistry, a lot of experienced players coming into the leadership group, and everyone trying to figure out where they kind of they're where they are on the team and in the lineup. Even we had injuries to start camp, and hopefully next year going into it, we won't be in that position, and we can start healthy and really push and push each other, have a great camp, and start the year great.
And Derek mentioned, having you guys are built differently than some teams, but just as far as having better pushback, and that physicality doesn't mean fighting, but how does something like that develop within the team with the roster you have now, that you don't get pushed around maybe like the Senators games, that there's toughness from within, that not specific to fighting?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there was plenty of times this year I felt that guys took liberties. So whoever it was, that whatever their role on the other team, if they're tough guys, they kind of had free nights, and I think that's something that needs to be addressed. But to have an answer to that, you can't have Mo Sider having to step up and look over his shoulder all night. But in terms of playing competitive games where it's just battling and competing, I think we're there. And the Ottawa games were more so where those tough guys were running around and we didn't have an answer for it. But when we stuck together, when we played hard, guys blocked shots, we had countless injuries with broken bones and guys doing it the whole season. So I thought we really competed together, and you saw scrums and guys are in there together, sticking up for each other.
And lastly, I've heard you say so many times, you hope you're not in this position next year at trade deadlines, but you guys were not mathematically eliminated until the last week of the season. How much of an imprint do you think that makes on everyone in the locker room, but especially the younger guys, that 2 or 3 more victories, what a difference that might have made? It was that far along in the season before the mathematical elimination.
Yeah, it's huge. And I don't think anyone could really predict how, after the trade deadline went in our conference, and those spots weren't really grabbed until the last couple games of the year. But it's a good lesson for us that you're never out of it, and how valuable those points are, whether it's at home, whether it's for myself. I think we can be better in overtimes and get a couple extra points there. And there's always, at the end of a season, you're always going to look at a handful of games where you should have had points and you didn't. But there are real opportunities for, whether it's overtime or closing out tight games, like the one in Arizona. You kind of look back at those, and those are ones that you need to keep yourself in it.
Thank you.
Max Boltman.
Hey, Dylan, I think you talked earlier in the year about kind of relating what Lucas went through early in the season to your own second season. I'm just curious what, if anything, was your message to him going into the summer about kind of how to proceed from here?
Yeah, I think, Lucas, I've said it before, he's very talented, very skilled, much more talented than I was at his age. And I think he's got a great attitude. He's going into the summer with a chip on his shoulder, and I think that's very good. And that's what I think every player goes through. I went through it, and I still, go into summers like that, and it pushes you and gives yourself motivation every day when you're waking up and going to the gym and going on the ice and doing things that is going to separate you. So he's got a great attitude going into this off season, that he knows and he wants to be better. So I'm excited for him, and I'm excited for our hockey team that he has that attitude.
Steve talked about hoping that some of the improvement offensively for you guys comes internally, incrementally from the younger guys, whether that's him or Veleno or Berggren. What did you see from that group this year, and how confident are you that they can take a next step and help you guys put some more pucks in the net next year?
Yeah, I think those guys all took a step. Bergie just kind of got here this year and made the team, and kind of throughout the season we called him up when we needed him, and he played really well. And Joey took steps and playing right and playing the right way. And the offense, when he kind of figures out how to be hard every night and play hard, he's there, and he has it in him. So those guys, I think are very important. And Z had tough injury luck, but we've seen in the past from him that he can score and he can play a really good hockey.
And then last thing, are you planning to go to Worlds this year?
No, I won't be going.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Jonathan Mills.
Hey, Dylan. At the beginning of the season, DP talked about how he and the other veteran guys wanted to help take some of the leadership load off your shoulders. In what ways did they do that this season, and what qualities did you might have taken away from them this year that maybe you are going to try to implement?
I think, the guys that we brought in are really good people and good leaders, and some may have different approaches, and that's okay, right? You just kind of let them be. And DP is a talker, and he's holds guys accountable, and I think that's just for an example, but it's been really good. It's kind of something that's grown throughout the year, and I'm excited that going into next year we'll be familiar with each other, and I think that was a adjustment period as a whole new leadership group. So we're going to be familiar with each other next year, and we're going to add to that group with some of the young players that have really earned it through their play.
Thank you.
Ansar Khan.
Yeah, hi, Dylan. I'm sure you guys, one area you're pleased with is reducing the goals against and just improving defensively, but you'd also like to score more goals next year. Is that the kind of a balancing act that you have to find, of generating more offense without taking a step back defensively?
Absolutely. I mean, I think Hoos was great for us this year. He really, it was nice to have a goalie that you could rely on in big games and big situations when you needed a save. And I think our penalty kill really helped that number of goals against to be down. We did a pretty good job. And I think just the way we play, I think we could be faster and kind of score more in transition, like some of these teams are doing now with Buffalo and New Jersey, how fast they play. We're going to have young players and fast players. So that's kind of how I see where the league is going in general, is just more off the rush, and it's not making crazy plays. It's just the defense getting the pucks up to us quick and trying to create outman rushes.
And for yourself personally, you had career highs in numbers. You played more on the penalty kill. Are you pleased with the growth that you showed in your game this season?
I guess. I mean, I think I was happier that I was playing on the penalty kill and contributing, and playing on the power play, playing in the bumper position was new, but somewhere that I really enjoy playing and felt like I was very effective there. So I was somewhat satisfied with how it went, but it was a year with many ups and downs and injuries and having to battle through that. But I think going forward, I know I have more and can be a dominant player. I kind of look at that stretch where we went through Western Canada. It was some of the best hockey I played in my career. You know, I know I can do that more consistently.
Thanks, Dylan.
Ted Colton.
Hey, Dylan, thanks for doing this. Hey, what'd you think of just Derek and the coaching staff and, I don't know, just working with them and just the impact they had? I mean, what was that like this season?
It was, I've said it plenty of times. I've been very impressed with Newsy and his staff. They're very professional. I think we were very organized, and you know, he's holds guys accountable, and you know, I really have you know, grown to respect him in that.
Hey, just talking about Sider for a second. I mean, obviously the Rookie of the Year stuff last year, but just going into this season, I mean, the way he was playing the second half of the season, I mean, where do you think, I mean, what's the ceiling for him? I mean, how good can he get, you think, as years go by here?
Well, I mean, you know, I think he is really good. I love what I love most about his season was probably the numbers weren't there. There was never even you know, a look of frustration, or you know, he was not always on the power play. Never frustrated. He just did his job and defended and did what he had to do to help the team. I not sure how many blocks he had this year, but it was a lot, and you know, he does the little things that you need to win, and I think he can and will be one of the best defensive defensemen in the NHL, and he has good offense as well. So his ceiling, I'm not really sure, but he's going to be a good player.
Are you going into this season as healthy as you've been the last couple of years and stuff?
Yeah, I hope so. You know, it's tough it was tough throughout the year, but I think everyone's a little banged up at this point of the year, whether you're in the playoffs or you're not. So, but I feel pretty good.
The last one, speaking of playoffs, they'll probably build a statue for Bert in Boston here pretty soon after last night. Have you talked to him at all lately? And just how happy are you that he's getting this chance, and he seems like he's going to be thriving in the playoffs? Like everybody said, kind of thought he would be if he ever got to the playoffs.
Yeah, I've talked with him, and you know, he's really enjoying it. So I watched last night. You know, it was not surprising at all how he played, and you know, it's hard to watch Boston, but it's fun to watch Bird in the playoffs.
Thanks for this, Dylan.
Bob Duff.
And Dylan, the fan base always wants to see all the prospects up and playing in the NHL right away. But I mean, Steve always talks about, you know, having to earn your spot, and you went through that as a young player yourself. Like, how important is it for their growth for young players, like for a Veleno to see an Andrew Kopp and how he kills penalties, or for you know, for Lucas to see David Perron and not just learn from them, but also know that they're saying to those young players, if you want to be on the first power play or the first penalty killing, you got to beat me out. So they have that healthy competition. How much does that help their growth as players?
Yeah, I think it helps a lot, and you know, it's something you don't really think about too much, but you know, when that stuff is real, and you know, I think if you're not okay with it, then there's a problem, and I think guys are aware and aware of even what's coming. The young players we've drafted, and we're planning to sign. You know, whoever we're planning to sign. So, you know, you have good. You have to have a little bit of awareness, and I think it's very important to have that healthy competition, and it's the most we've had in a number of years here.
Thank you.
Last question, Art Regner.
Hi, Dylan. You said something just now about Mo having to look over his shoulder a little bit. Don't you feel that you have to too? I mean, you seem to take a lot of liberties seem to be taken with you for a player of your stature. And I'm not asking to call out teammates, but you seem to have to defend yourself quite often this season.
I don't know. I think it's maybe always, I don't know, always that way, but you know, Mo, I'd put myself in that category. You know, Lucas, you're guys that battle, David Perron as well. Guys that battle, you know, you're gonna draw attention. It's just the, you know, the extracurriculars. You know, the hit in Minnesota on Phil Hronek. You know, Benny stepped up. So we do have that, but you know, I think just the way the NHL is going, that's so skilled now. Guys take liberties, but you look at the top teams; they have guys there that can answer the bell.
During your presser for your contract extension and post-trade deadline, you said that in that process you had a lot more conversations than you thought with Steve. I'm kind of curious, as disappointing as the trade deadline was for you as the captain of the team and on a personal level, did you at least have an understanding of why Steve did what he had to do?
Yeah, I did, and that morning was very difficult, and you know, I said goodbye to Bert, walked in the room to talk about myself signing an 8-year extension. You know, there was so many emotions. You know, I know Bert was happy for me, but it was just difficult. And the other guys that got traded, the way we were playing at that time, and how close I felt we were, how bad we all wanted to be in the, you know, really in the mix together for a playoff spot. It was just a lot of emotions, but I did understand why it happened, and you know, I think we'll see, right? We'll see what happens.
Simon Edvinsson had a 9-game audition. You know, we sort of all are going to compare him to Mo from a fan base, but what did you think of Simon in those 9 games?
Well, I think they're very, like, I don't really need, they're very, very different, but I think he's a dynamic player, and he's, you know, not every day you see a 6'6" player move like that and have vision and skating ability like that. So he's a very exciting prospect. I, you know, kind of expect him to really come into camp and battle, and I was impressed with how he was physical, how he you know, really understood that, you know, he was there to leave an impression and a good impression.
Dylan, this is a question I wanted to ask you for a couple of months since I saw it on Instagram, but it just never seemed to be the appropriate time. I understand it looks like Larkin Hockey School is back. How important was that for you, your brother, your 2 cousins, maybe your entire family to once again have Larkin Hockey School back at Lakeland and to, you know, do the community thing?
Yeah, it's very, very exciting. Was difficult, obviously, with COVID and you know, my brother and cousins moving on from their hockey careers to working and doing their own thing. So we're excited. It's going to be a little bit different this year, but we're just excited to give back to the kids and have fun.
Great. Thank you, Dylan. Appreciate it.
Thank you.